We're back.
Boom.
Let's go. Fire Mountain episode, what is it? 1, 2?
Episode 12. Can you believe it? Welcome to Fire Mountain. It's great to have you.
We've got a special guest.
We have a special guest today.
Oh,
Boris Johnson! Wait,
Boris Johnson. Oi, oi.
Hey. We thought for Mother's Day, who else would you want in the house? But
Boris
Boris
Johnson. No, come on, reveal
Boris.
yourself.
Okay, here we go.
Here we
Come
go.
on, take down the computer, and I'm going to bring you on our special guest today.
Naomi Gill.
Naomi Gill.
Come on,
amazing.
into your mic there.
So good to have you with... What was that?
Clapping myself.
Just
That was a
clapping
pitiful clap.
Just clapping.
That's better.
Clapping myself.
Clapping Boris out.
Clapping Boris out.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, Naomi.
Happy Mother's Day to everybody watching Fire Mountain. We hope you've had a great day, moms, or are having a great day. And Naomi, happy Mother's Day to
Thank
you.
you.
Happy Mother's Day. So you've got a son,
Yes.
Ruben.
Yes.
Legend. How old is he?
He's nearly 6.
Whoa.
Nearly 6.
Wow.
And he survived your mothering, so that's amazing. Just about.
Yeah.
2 highlights. What do you think are 2 highlights about mothering you love that you never expected to?
Golly gosh. 2 highlights.
Can you think of 2?
Um,
Can you think of 2?
So there's not 2, you're saying.
All right, let's go 1. One good thing.
I would say one good thing. Oh, I love cuddling and kissing him.
Yeah.
I love it when he
Okay.
kisses me and he's
Being
when he
affectionate.
needs me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. No,
That's not bad. He's 6.
Great. Yeah.
It's totally appropriate that he needs his
If he
mom.
was
I tell you what,
33,
though.
different conversation.
he he wouldn't
No
say
comment.
he needs me. Gil, he's a daddy's boy, 100%.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'll
Oh,
probably
wow.
be celebrating Gil today rather than me.
Oh, Nay. Well, we love you, Nay. We're so chuffed that
Thanks.
you're on Fire Mountain.
Oh,
Thanks.
We've been buzzing
so
about
good.
it because obviously last week we touched on some ethical dilemmas and stuff.
Yeah.
And we thought today we wanted a mom and we wanted somebody who could talk ethics. And Naomi is like an RS teacher.
Yeah.
Do you call them RS in UK or is it RE?
So at my school, it's PRE, so it's philosophy, religion, and ethics.
Oh.
Wow. And you're the head of department.
I am.
So you have serious credentials.
So you know what you're talking about. Basically, you're an expert on philosophy, religion, and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff, yeah?
Apparently so, yeah.
This is like the second time we've had a
An
decent
Yeah.
knowledge base on Fire Mountain. Normally, I mean, you've watched some. Me and Richard generally just blag and talk our opinions. Whereas, today we're going to touch on some of the things happening in the world. We're also going to talk about parenting because parenting's hard work.
Yes.
Never been harder. I don't think there's ever been a harder time to raise kids, and maybe we'll talk about that in a bit. But talking specifically about discipline, punishment, consequences, smacking. I put out an Insta poll this week. We're going to get into all of that in this episode. So if you're a parent or you look after kids or you're just kind of interested in the way society's going, I think it's going to be a really interesting episode. We're going to have lots of fun.
And as always, if you disagree with us, if you have any thoughts or comments, please pop them down below into the comment section
Lansdowne
or email
Baptist
us
Church.
firemountain@Lansdowne. That's only if you have complaints. If you've got positive things to say, firemountain@sunnyhill.church. Once again, we just want to say Pepsi, still looking for the elusive sponsorship. Come on.
I'm not sure you're the profile of person that they would endorse, to be honest.
What
Richard.
we say right
Well,
now.
well, I drink Pepsi, and I think if we are the billboard for what Pepsi does, I think they'll be like, nah, you're all right, thanks.
Yeah. Pepsi Max, it will stop you getting too fat.
At least people know what Max is for in the name. This is the real deal right now. Sweet and Maximus.
Well, we've got a huge amount we want to get into today, and before we do, we're going to be jumping just into a Mother's Day video.
Yeah. This was actually something we did like a couple of years ago. Like, obviously, the first Mother's Day didn't come long after lockdown, did it? So, like, lockdown started, then there was a Mother's Day. So it was one of the first things we did in lockdown, one of the first Sundays. And we did a cheeky little film as a family. Yeah. And I thought it'd be a great way to kind of just honour the moment, celebrate moms, and obviously celebrate my wonderful wife. So let's roll VT.
Morning, Mummy.
Okay.
up. Look at me. His name was Noah. Good night. Mwah. I love you. I love you. Good night.
It's nothing, Mummy. It's nothing, Mummy. It's nothing, Mummy. Nothing, Mummy. It's nothing, Mummy. Nothing, Mummy. It's nothing, Mummy.
They were so bad, those slaps, mate. The problem is as well, Zeke was just couldn't handle it.
Oh.
He just couldn't handle it at all. He was like, I don't want to do it anymore. We were like, you will do it.
Yeah.
You will do it.
You will hit. You will hit.
Yeah, you will smack your mother.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to get into that shortly. But it is Mother's Day, and Naomi, obviously, a mother. How, obviously, looking back, it's been a wild 2 years, lockdown, COVID, like Richard's still trying to push the Pepsi Max here. How did you find mothering through the carnage that was 2020, 2021?
I guess, well, I was kind of going to work still, and I sent my child to school. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, it was all right.
So you're one of those more cold-hearted kind of,
Yeah.
like, I'm a key worker.
Absolutely fine, 100% no problem.
You go on. No, the first lockdown, he was in nursery. He was in preschool, and we took him out of that. And actually, Gil was off as well, and we were building something in our house.
Yeah, standard.
And Reuben loves building, and so does Gil. So they were just loving building, and I sunbathed. And then, like, literally, not even joking. And then I sent him into...
So you didn't bother educating your child?
No, because he wasn't in school. He didn't need to be. He just needed...
Kids don't need education till they get to school.
Not when they're, like, 4.
No, fair enough.
And so Gil taught him, like, social skills and building skills and... eating things like that. Yeah,
what social skills would they be then that Gil
like
passed on?
talking to the neighbour.
Ah, okay, nice. Happy days.
We got a cat.
Yeah, wow.
You know, that kind of stuff. And then the second lockdown, he did go to school, and I went to school. So
And you're just like, boom, get him out of here.
it wasn't too bad, to be honest.
We did get some footage though, because obviously Gil's a drummer for people who don't know, and we got some footage of Naomi and Gil in their home. And just some stuff during lockdown that they were doing,
Recording some worship moments.
Some worship moments, and we just thought it would be really good to play those for people to see. Just an encouragement. I mean, this is when you change. I mean, this is before you grew your hair out a bit. Early lockdown.
I like it. So for those who don't know, Gil, Naomi's husband, is not just a builder, he's a drummer. And there's a real moment here. This is legit, by the way. A legit service. This is so funny.
And you
I like the fact that the song is Oceans. It's like definitely a Titanic moment, isn't it? Like this thing is sinking right now. I actually think, obviously it's really bad.
She keeps going, and I just think it's so impressive.
Well, obviously she's quite good at... Watch him now. Look, you can see the camera zooming out. He's just at the wrong gig, isn't he? He's at the wrong gig. I think he thinks he's at like the bikers bar, the Hells Angels kind of.
take me deeper than my feet could ever wander.
I don't know how they kept going though. I can't get my head around it. They just keep going. Like, no problem.
Well, you've got to question their sanity, haven't you? Is the bottom line. You've got to go, has this church got additional kind of issues going on?
I'd like Gil to play drums.
Really?
Yeah, I think it'd be brilliant.
Well, if you bought him a bandana,
I just like Gil to play drums. Oh my god. So good. Look at him. He's in it.
He is going for it. He's like, bring my bike around. Bring my bike. Bring the hog around. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, when I was 19 19, I wrote a man list of things I wanted in a
Oh, come on.
husband.
Let's hear them. Naomi, we need to get into that.
Number one was a
What else was on the man
Man
list?
I
list.
don't remember. But
Come on. Just being a drummer.
drummer.
What is about a drummer? Come on, you can remember.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
Come
yeah.
on,
something,
tell
I
them, tell them,
remember
tell them.
something.
What were you looking for in a husband?
I wanted a drummer,
Yeah.
and this was I was 19 before I met Gill.
Okay.
I don't know why. I just liked the drums, and
Okay.
then I wanted someone that didn't bite their nails.
Okay.
Because at the time I was living with some friends, and there was a guy and he used to bite his nails. And
Got worms, yeah? You don't want that,
he
do you?
used to bite them.
Don't
put them
marry
on
to someone with
the
worms in them.
Sofa, arm of the sofa. And
Weren't
leave
you
them
living?
leave
Wasn't
them
Dom one of your
quiet.
roommates at the time?
Awkward. What else did I want? Someone who could cook.
Yeah.
And Gil can definitely cook. I
Yeah.
can't, so that's good. And
Someone who loves Jesus, maybe? Just maybe on the list somewhere?
I was 19.
Nah, it never
yeah,
happened.
of course, it was up top. Drummer was one.
Do you know how you, if you're setting up a stage, do you know how if the stage is level or not?
The drummer?
Yeah, look for where the spit's coming out their mouth. Oh,
Gosh.
brilliant. Excellent.
Oh.
Having kids, that was on my list.
Having kids.
There we go.
What, you wanted a
You wanted-
bloke with who had
Not-
kids?
No.
You wanted on your man
We
list.
wanted
I
children.
must be able to.
Oh, okay.
Who didn't smack?
Ooh, okay, let's get...
Whoa,
Oh,
whoa,
well,
It wasn't really. It wasn't
I
really.
can't wait to get into this conversation.
Whoa. So, I mean, let's jump in because that's what you do on Mother's Day. It's Mother's Day, so we may as well get into this. New law got passed in Wales, came into effect 21st of March, which has outlawed any form of physical punishment on children. So no more smacking. And if you're on Instagram, Dom put a poll out
I
onto
did.
Instagram.
I got a bit of heat, you know.
And Naomi was adamant in her response into that. So, Dom, do you want to give us a little bit of your
The highlights.
highlights from your Instagram?
Yeah, so
poll to
basically,
bring us in?
I don't know what day it was. Like, it might have been Monday because that's normally when I
It
get a
was.
bit like snarky and like on a Monday because my day off, so I got a bit of time to kind of annoy people.
Yeah.
So I went on there and I saw that there was this bill that was being passed. It all been passed in Scotland,
Yeah.
which obviously makes a lot of sense when you see Scottish people, right? I don't know when. Look at this, like Naomi. I thought she was going to snap me then.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
Naomi.
was going to say... Oh, no, go on, carry on.
Right, I'm just trying to find now my Insta. Hopefully, I took pictures. Right, just talk amongst yourselves just for a minute. I'm just trying to find out. It looks like I haven't taken any of the pictures, which is so. Oh, here we go.
There we go.
So I put a poll out. Well, first of all, I put like this bill that they're passing. First of all, I don't think it will achieve the intended objective, which is to stop parents like moving over the threshold of discipline into abuse. I don't think we'll stop that. Like, abusers will abuse regardless of the law. That's like, we know that. So I think that the only result of criminalising smacking a child is going to be criminalising good parents who are trying to do good parenting, right? That we'll get into that, I'm sure. And so I just put, this is nonsense kind of thing, and I got a bit of heat for that. So I thought, well, it'd be interesting to know of those who kind of I'm friends with on Instagram, like what people feel like. Do people smack? Do they think it's appropriate? Like, smacking appropriately? That's important to say that. That was the question. So the question I asked was, should you smack a child to discipline? Yes, appropriately. No, it's never appropriate. Or I don't know. And I don't know, what would you think the divide would be, Richard? Everyone who responded, I reckon I probably had about maybe 130 votes for that. So it's quite an extensive poll.
People. I would
And it's
probably-
Christians as
I
well,
would
mostly.
probably think it's like 51, 49, kind of like a Brexit vibe,
Okay.
with 51 saying smack, 49 saying I
Okay.
wouldn't smack. I think it would be like a Brexit situation.
Okay, what about you, Nick?
Well, I did vote, so I saw the
The percent. Oh, it's
the
okay.
chart. But
Yeah.
I believe that
Yeah.
more voted yes.
Yes.
No.
So the split was 55% in
Oh.
favour,
Ah.
41% against, and 3% were unsure. Now, that surprised me, that poll, because I was expecting maybe 80 to 90%. Obviously, you
Oh,
need to
really?
smack. Yeah, I was definitely.
Really?
I was totally expecting it to be weighed heavily
Well,
in the favour of
why?
smacking.
Why did you think it would weigh that way?
Well, because I think most of the people who follow me would be Christians, and I think therefore would have a more conservative, traditional approach to parenting, right? Which would be...
But the reality is most people who follow you are woke.
No, you don't follow me, Richard. What are you chatting about? You don't even have Instagram. You don't even know how to spell Instagram.
I'm so woke, I don't have Instagram. That's how woke I am. I am woke up. I don't even know what I'm
you should
saying.
get Instagram, pa. Hillary Clinton with a beard over there.
Hilly.
Right.
Don't
but
make fun of Hilly.
But I literally thought that most people were like, of course, smacking is a central part of a parent's duty. And I then said, if you've got some strong views on this, message me. And people actually did. People messaged me
What
some
did they
things.
say?
There was some interesting stuff, like, some people said, I don't have kids, but this is my view. I think it's wrong. And they were saying, no, I don't begrudge them that. Like, and I don't think you should have a child before you have an opinion. Yes, raising a child's hard, but you should still have an opinion about it. Because I was saying back to them, you don't need to put a disclaimer, I don't have children, and maybe my views will change. Because actually, I think these bills affect society, not just the households.
Yeah.
So you should have an opinion on this stuff, whether you've got a child or not, because you've got to think about society, not just my domestic benefit, the greater good, so to speak. But what I found quite interesting was that I probably had about 5 comments from people who either foster or connected to somebody close who fosters, all said that they smack their own children, but would no longer do that now, in light of what they've learned psychologically about parenting through fostering. Because obviously when you apply to become a foster parent,
are they saying that because of having to do parenting training courses, they would now no longer...
Yeah, their views on smacking has changed, largely because probably 2 or 3 of those people said they had seen the effect, like children who would cower, children who would wince if someone made an immediate jerk reaction, like just assume that they're about to get smacked or something, to the point that emotively it was so sad for them that they think... Now, my thought on that is it's not the same. What we're talking about is not scaring a child into submission. That's not the same as what I'm talking about when I'm talking about smacking, although we can unpick that and where's the line, but I did find it interesting that people of an older age, in terms of who had children and their children grown up and are now fostering or were connected to someone who was fostering, there was this common thread that their view on it had changed. So now there might be more at a stage where they're grandparents, but if they went back in time, they wouldn't smack anymore. Which I thought, that's really interesting. It's an interesting thought, really that like the fostering dynamic, obviously. And I think when I'm talking about being pro-smack, sounds like I'm pro-drugs, pro-smack, Well, I know that adoption and fostering, it's a different kettle of fish. And I'm not saying that I would definitely champion that, because I think there's a whole heap of history and trauma that plays into that, so it's not straightforward. But I think a child that you have biologically, that you can vouch for their environment from day zero, it's a different, we're talking about something different here. But yeah, I was surprised by my poll, because I was definitely expecting a heavy... I literally thought, when I put my post, people were like, oh, thanks for speaking out, Dom. Whoa, yeah.
We're speaking out.
Yeah, this is nonsense.
Have you never used social media honestly, in your life?
It always goes wrong for me. It always I mean, I don't really care, because it is so superficial. Man. But like, I was so surprised by nobody messaged me to say... Of course, smacking should, you should smack your children to correct them. Everyone who messaged me was like, no, this shouldn't be done. It's not good for a child's mentality or mental health and all that. And some people quoted some research and science and all that kind of stuff, which I'd like to talk about that, because I don't buy into it at all, at all. I just don't think you know what's going on in a child. I said to one of them, I remember me and Louise went to a wedding when Caleb was about just over a year old. And it was so funny because we were sat at a table with a child psychologist, and let's just say they were not the life and soul of the party, right? And Kayla was there, Louise was feeding him, and the psychologist says, isn't it interesting? He's still trying to work out if he loves you or hates you, right? And I was like, wow. This is brilliant. I was like, what? Like, I said, how could you possibly know that? How do you know what's going on? He says, well, some research has been done with some cookie selection, like where they put cookies, and somehow they've deduced it to this idea, like, I'm still, like, Caleb, up to the age of 18 months, didn't know whether he hated us or loved us. And I thought, what a load of crock that is. What an absolute load of crock. But yeah, it did make me laugh.
So, Naomi, obviously you partook in the poll.
Yes.
And you have some strong views in this regard. We would say strong. Maybe you wouldn't. So where are you at? What was your take on the poll, and how did you respond?
I'm an ethics teacher, so I'll argue any point of view.
I love that.
Whether I agree with it or not. I'm just here to poke the fire, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so my views, I think before I had a child, both Gill and I talked about it, and we were like, we will smack if we need to.
Okay.
You know. And even when I had him, I think I was, not that we were really thinking about smacking, but I think it hadn't really crossed my mind whether I would agree or disagree with it. I kind of just thought I was smacked, and and I thought it's just kind of how you discipline your child. And then I think for us, like for me, I didn't really know at what point to start doing that, and so and I really loved him, and he was so cute, and I didn't want to hurt him. Like I didn't want to hurt him. I didn't want to make him cry, and so
too soft, man.
Yeah, well, probably. Hey, no. So I didn't really know when to start smacking. And then I think I made the decision not to smack we had, I don't know if you remember this, we went to
I do remember.
Steve and Elaine.
I do remember this.
So
This is about 3 moms. I made a passing comment in a preach about smacking one of my boys, right? I think that's what was the context. And then there was about 2 or 3 of you came to me there. And
this was at Steve and Elaine's
I know.
house. Oh, was it?
It was after church.
Oh, yeah.
And the follow-up was, obviously I mentioned that I'd smacked my kids.
Yeah.
About
we
something.
Were all like, what?
Yeah. And then there was this, right, show me how hard you smack. And you all, do you remember that? You all had your hands out.
And you were smacking women.
I was smacking moms.
So hold on.
At this dinner party.
This has taken a turn. Let's maybe do a session on whether just hitting adults is appropriate or not. What's happening right now?
Well, I love it.
I forgot.
Do you remember putting your hand out? And there I was, just smacking moms around. It was brilliant. I was like, whoa. I have landed as a pastor.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and it's got, so that was the formative moment that put you off.
Okay. You smacked me.
You deserved it.
I kind of thought to myself, well, maybe he is old enough to smack it. I don't know. I don't even know how old he was. He must have been like, I don't know, 18 months. Something like that.
Around that moment.
And then I remember the next day, it was my day off. It was a Monday, and he was being a little pain in the backside. Yeah, turd. And I thought, I'm going to try and smack him.
Is this Gill or Ruben?
Reuben. I thought I'm going to give it a go, try and smack him, see what happens.
Takes Dom's advice.
I took his hand and I smacked him, and he just looked at me and he laughed, and then he hit me back. Well, that backfired. And I was like, don't you smack mummy. And he went, don't you smack me. And I was like, it was, it's something like, you smack me. And then I was like, I don't know how to explain to this little baby, well, he's like, I don't know, 18-month-old or whatever, that...
I mean, what I would suggest in that scenario, part of the problem was you probably didn't smack him hard enough.
I didn't want to smack him hard.
To be honest,
right,
that's what I'm hearing there.
Maybe. What, should I leave a mark?
Well, I think...
Any other advice Dom's given you that you followed and it had to basically renege on instantly?
I mean, my vibe is that like at that age, so my whole philosophy is, and I'm not a perfect parent at all, but my philosophy is if you discipline them right with smack as a consequence, you have to have tight parameters on that. You can't just smack when you're hacked off, and you can't just smack if you like, are they going to hurt themselves? Are they going to hurt someone else? Is there a pattern of behavior here that saying, don't do that, please don't do that, Caleb? Like, I think sometimes parents look like absolute, it looks moronic. Parents don't have control of their kids. And I think kids that aren't smacked generally are more annoying. Because I don't... honestly...
I mean, that's a statement.
Yeah, honestly, I think that...
Annoying.
No, I'm not saying all those, but I think the kids that are unruly and rebellious and are the ones actually who have... I'm not saying that smacking is always the remedy, but I think ones that create tight parameters and boundaries for kids to flourish within, where there is consequence to bad behaviour, which isn't necessarily a smack, but smack could be the ultimate form of consequence. I feel like kids just become better people.
So I don't agree with you.
Yeah,
but
fine.
You can say why.
Yeah, I will do. I just want to finish my smacking.
Come on.
Reasons I don't smack. So
Yeah.
after I smacked him and he smacked me back, and I told him not to smack me, and then I thought, oh, this is just a bit messed up.
And then there was a headbutt, and the headbutt went back and forth.
Headlock.
Yeah, no. I didn't ever really. I thought, oh, I don't really know what the point of that was.
Because my pastor told me to.
I gave it my best, and nothing happened.
I
And,
listened to your advice, Dominic, and I don't know why.
You'll learn. You learn, you mug.
in the comments, we would love to know other things people have taken on board and gone, actually, I'm off skis. That's a not work out.
And then I think, and I know you're going to find this really hard to believe, but another reason I kind of don't smack is because the only time I really feel like, and this is probably because I don't know, I need to like work on my parenting discipline or whatever, but I just want to smack him when I'm angry, and that's not the right time to smack him. And actually when I want to smack him, I'm like, I actually don't want to smack him. I want to throw him out the window. So
do that then. That was a joke.
Yeah.
And I know that like
Instagram poll.
it should be a part of a process. Like it can't be like
Yeah.
you're naughty, I'm going to smack you.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
got to
yeah.
be like you're naughty, this.
Definitely.
But yeah.
Can I ask you something about that?
Yeah, please do.
So you know when you say you only feel like smacking him when you're angry,
Yeah.
is that because the discipline that you're using up to that point hasn't worked, producing the anger, or is it just like, there's certain things that kids will do that can just trigger you from 0 to 100 instantly? Like which is it?
So I think it's probably at the time when I smacked his hand and he laughed at me. I think I hadn't worked out what I think is like our steps for disciplining him.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think I hadn't, like for him, being put out somewhere, like being taken away from a social setting or losing something. I have smacked him a few times and he has laughed. I don't think it's ever had any kind of any impact on him.
You just need to
Whereas if I
increase the velocity of it.
If I
Just a
take his
little
toys,
bit.
yeah, but so then I'm like, I'm hitting my child.
Does
I'm
he?
hitting my child.
Out of interest, does Gil
So
smack?
Gil is like up for it.
Gil's up for it.
Smacking. Gil.
We've got the best. We've worked out really good language to use for this discussion. Yeah,
That's
Gil's
interesting.
up for it.
We need to
Gil-
talk about this stuff, man. It's so helpful.
Gil would do it if I would do it. I don't know if he would mind me telling this story or not, but he once smacked Reuben.
Well, it's not illegal in this country, so we're all good.
Is it not?
No.
Okay, so he smacked Reuben, and basically it hurt Reuben,
Yeah.
and Reuben cried, obviously,
Yep.
and a few hours later, Gil was still like so eaten up with guilt about it. He went and apologised
Yeah,
to
yeah.
him.
I've done that before.
And have you?
Yeah.
And he was like, I really didn't. I mean, no one likes doing it when
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
done in the right way. Nobody likes doing it, but
Yeah.
he I don't think he's against it, but I think I think he's for slapping.
Yeah.
But it's not. I don't think he's done it since then.
Yeah.
And I guess like we have just, I don't know, maybe you would disagree, but we just have, I think our little boy is fine and he's okay and
He's a good boy.
he's a good boy and he doesn't have smacking as a punishment.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know if he would remember it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I asked him a question today. I said to him, because obviously I knew he was coming here, and I said, if you were naughty, what would be worse? Okay, if I said you can't go to Ted's house after school today, or you were going to get a smack, and he was like, I'd have a smack. I don't want to go to school. I don't want to go to Ted's.
Yeah.
And that might be because I'm smacking him, and it's not very hard.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he is like, no, that's.
So
Sorry,
here
Richard,
are some
go
of the reasons that's given in. I've got the
Closer
the
to your
PDF.
mic. Closer to your mic.
Sorry, I've got the PDF document here from Wales.
Okay.
So this is released by the government of Wales for parents that accompanied when the law came into effect. So this is absolutely what they're saying.
Criteria.
There's a lot of craziness on this document that we could get into. But this is one of their things. They say physical punishment can, and these are the reasons that it's bad. So I'm interested to see what you
Okay.
think. Hurt a child. So that's the first one. Second one, make a child feel fear, anger, sadness, and confusion.
Right.
Give children the message that violence is okay and is an appropriate response to strong feelings. Can be associated with negative outcomes for children. So these are the reasons around why they're saying physical punishment is bad for kids. So as a person who does hit your kids, and by hit I mean in an appropriate way with reasonable force as is legally allowed, and not just going crazy, beating my kids, like not abusive.
Yeah.
Do you think that these things are true, or do you go, I don't?
I would say
agree
a
with
couple of them are the objective. No, I'm serious.
Okay.
Like, I'm not smacking my. I want to.
So you're not
inflict-
smacking
You
your
want to
kid.
hurt
You're not
them.
smacking
No, I
your
am.
kid to.
Yeah.
I want
Okay.
to hurt them. Of course I do. Otherwise, what's the point?
Okay.
Like, I'm not smacking them just
Yeah.
to go
Okay.
like a waft of air
Yeah.
on the backside. Like, I want them to feel some pain connected to their behaviour.
Okay.
So,
And let me just like qualify this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm not smacking I rarely smack my kids. Like,
Yeah.
and I think after 3 or 4, it just becomes
You're saying
embarrassing.
you smack moms more than you smack
Yeah, yeah.
kids.
Well, that would be my history, in recent history. But like, I think if you employ the smack approach effectively, by the time you get to 4, it becomes a necessary tool, because at that point you can reason with them, you can converse with them, you can talk with
so
them.
what age did you start smacking?
I reckon with Caleb, probably about 15 months.
Okay.
I felt that point there was a cognitive understanding of his behaviour and intentional trespasses he was committing. I was
And
such
it
a
was
preacher.
Smack on the hand.
And yet
Smack on the
still
hand.
3 months out from him knowing if he loved you or not.
So there was this time, like you saying about Ruben laughing. So I smacked him once because he was playing with a DVD player, right? And I said, right, we've got to have some things here. I don't think we had babyfied our house enough. We had a paper lamp from IKEA, which is a stupid idea. We had a waste paper bin. We had like a coal fire, and we had a DVD player. This was at our first place, Grove Road. And he knew he wasn't allowed to do those things. And one day he came in and he did every single one of them intentionally. So he goes over and he put his finger through the paper lamp, so he tore a hole in it, knocked the bin over, opened the DVD player and threw the coal on the carpet, right? And then he came over to me with his hand. He was like, smack it. Go on. Like, see.
Is this the first time you smacked him?
No, this would have been about the third.
Okay.
So at this point, he recognised that this was the consequence to this.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt like, you little turd. Because like what he was doing was he was testing, I think, the boundaries and parameters.
Yeah.
And I think if a parent buckles under that kind of thing, I think we ineffectively establish those. And actually a kid flourishes in boundaries. Now, I would say that like now I've got a brilliant relationship with Caleb. He's not scared of me. He's not going around punching kids. Like, I think this a whole heap of nonsense saying that if you smack your child, they're going to go around smacking people. I was smacked. I don't go around smacking people.
Well, you smacked moms.
Well, yeah, I do. I mean, only when invited.
And your kids.
You know, it's like, yeah. All right, let's not go there. But I think that like, is there times where I've done it wrong and ineffectively? Yes. Is there times where I've gone and apologized? Yes. Have I ever smacked out of emotion? Yeah. Let's not pretend to be saints here. Like, but if they outlawed it as a crime, like, I just think I would lose one of the most effective forms of parenting. So what you were saying a minute ago, I would say is an argument for. So when you said Ruben would rather have a smack than miss out going to his friends, I would say that's a pro-smack option then. Because it's quick, it's effective, it sends a signal, but it's not none of this kind of emotional blackmail. It's not like, you know, some people might say, send them to their room. Okay, so we're going to do a form of neglect then instead. Like that's, like I would say 10 years down the road, they're going to outlaw neglect as an option for parenting because they're worried about the mental health of a child.
Yeah, so that's what I found really interesting about this document, because this is what's written at the bottom of the PDF. Times have changed, attitudes have changed. There is no place for physical punishment in a modern Wales. That's their like little strap line at the bottom, which I just think doesn't talk into anything that they're trying to deal with. All it's saying is, as a modern society, we shouldn't operate in this way.
Yeah.
Obviously, we shouldn't. It must just be a given. And that for me feels kind of so surreal in the conversation to go, what's driving it isn't actual concern for kids,
Yeah.
but concern to be modern, to be seen as being, I don't know, like more tolerant. Would I even think it's tolerant? More acceptable behavior that our kind of modern understanding now would allow us, that didn't exist, you know, when we were maybe growing up, or when our parents were growing up, like as if they were more backwards. They had a worse understanding of the world than what we understand now.
Yeah.
which I'm not too sure if I would agree with.
The baseline is, man, we live in a increasingly soft society, don't we? So one of the anti-smack kind of leading commentators on the subject says we must evolve past violence. We have to. You know, as we become increasingly civilized, we have to put violence behind us. Like, so decades ago, domestic violence, obviously, or domestic abuse, smacking your wife would have been more socially acceptable years and years ago, obviously. Now, obviously, we look now with a moral compass and we go, that was never acceptable. That was never okay. So why is smacking a child different to that as an example? Well, because in theory, you're smacking your child because you love them. Like, you're not smacking your child because you hate them, you know. And that's why you do have to keep your emotions in check. But like discipline, rebuke, correction is harder work than letting them just do what they want to do. It's actually a harder shift, isn't it?
It is. And I think going back to my example of like losing his friend's house as a punishment, actually, I don't want him. I want him to go to his friend's house. Like, I want a couple of hours with him at his friend's. Like, actually, but I would, if I said to him, you do that again, you're going to lose going to Ted's house after school today. And if he did it again, he wouldn't go to Ted's.
Yeah.
And I know, and he knows that would happen because he's lost stuff before. He's, you know, I've taken things away from him. He hasn't gone wherever he's, you know, whatever the punishment is. We always make sure that we do what we say, what we threaten.
Yes.
And so actually a smack would be easy.
Yes.
And he can still go to, you know, but actually if I take away Ted's, I don't know, I just kind of feel like it works without having to hit him. And I guess the other thing, you know, smacking for you has worked because it's been done in a safe and a loving environment, and it's been done in love, and it's been done, you know, but actually this law is to, I don't know, there's a real grey area, isn't there? And to protect children that this isn't done in a loving way, I guess.
So do you think that there are more... I've been trying to wrap my head around some of the reasoning that when I'm listening to this argument unfold, not just here, but like beyond this, where people go, like, you know, parents will go too far, like there's parents who'll go too far. The law kind of is basically assuming that the majority of parents are going to be abusing the right, the law that said that it's reasonable, in a reasonable way, you can use physical punishment on your children. It feels like the premise behind the law is, most parents are abusing that.
Or is it?
Like, it feels... Or
I don't know. Is it more, is it worth getting rid of it as a law, making it law so it's illegal, to protect the ones that it isn't, you know, they're not being disciplined in that safe
But we wouldn't
place?
do that in other ways. We don't go, let's make having forks illegal because there may be a couple of kids who might stab other kids with forks. We don't go,
forks are necessary though, aren't they?
Let's make teeth illegal because
you can't help having teeth.
Some kids are biting other kids.
Yeah.
Like, where's the line that we draw when we start to look and go, there is a minority who may abuse this? It feels like there's always a minority who may abuse anything that exists. Let's not have cars, because we do know that some people will use cars in a really dangerous, inappropriate way. Like, where do we draw a line? Where do we draw a line in that where it doesn't end up becoming just us kind of going, well, there might be a few people who do this, and so that's where we kind of end up. Yeah,
I don't know. It's a big question that I guess I don't know what the statistics of like abuse and things like that. I don't know what that is in the UK.
I mean, I certainly think that that's one positive application of the law, is that hopefully it will make people who cross the threshold of appropriate
there's no
discipline.
grey areas.
There's no grey area, and it will make them consider their options, I guess. Like, and I'm on the other side. I wouldn't accept the law. I wouldn't.
I was going to ask you, would you still smack if the law was?
Oh, that's a great question.
To not smack.
That is such a good question.
Teacher.
I'm not prepared to vocalize my view because this is recorded and going out onto the internet.
Yeah, but I'm going to come to you in a minute, Richard, because you're sitting there silent. You're not committing to anything here.
No, let's not do
she
that.
smacks Richard.
Let's not bring my wife into this.
You mean a naughty boy?
I think even the UK provision laws aren't enough.
South African style. what was I going to say?
Would you smack if it was?
So let me.
illegal?
I just wanted to qualify our smacking
Yeah.
approach to parenting, because it's not just a case of
Justify.
you said what,
Justify.
bang. So the Bible says big things about our conscience, violating our conscience.
Mhm.
So you've always got to be sensitive to what your conscience. So the fact that Gil on that occasion felt remorse meant that he violated his conscience.
Mhm.
So he learns at that point, because no parent is perfect, and parenting is learned. You will make mistakes. Sometimes it might be to do with smacking, other times it might be to do with pocket money, or teaching them bad habits, or saying words that then they repeat. All of these kind of things. But I think so. My conscience, for example, would only permit a hand smack or a bum smack. Okay, not a clip round the ear, not using a wooden spoon. So I would have had wooden spoons used
Yeah,
on me.
I had the wooden spoon.
And I have no sense of remorse towards my parents. I'm actually pleased they did, but I just don't feel at peace about using it. So if I used it, I'd be violating my conscience, and it wouldn't be good for me, and therefore I couldn't be confident that I could administer it in love, right? So there's also other areas of conscience that we can't violate. So there was one occasion where Caleb came home from school, and I was napping on the sofa. I was having a siesta, right? He came home from school.
Spanish?
A little insight into my working day.
Yeah.
I was knackered, so he woke me up.
Knackered as tired, or knackered
Tired,
as
like
you were lying naked
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the sofa having a nap?
I was knackered. Tired out. And Caleb came home, and he just woke me up, right, to play. Now, I had slept so badly that night. I was flipping livid. I was so bad. And my response wasn't a good, godly response. And it sent shivers down my spine. Now, I didn't beat him up or anything like that, but I responded abruptly and unfairly. And what was weird is, if I was in a better mood, any other time that would have been appropriate for him to do. Because I love seeing him when he comes home from school, and I would go and jump with him on the trampoline. So now I'm expecting my 6-year-old or whatever he is to make that discerning call on, oh, yesterday it was okay, but now it's not. Now that's too confusing for a child. Like, how do you read emotions like that? So it was literally that. So it wasn't my children's behaviour that made me create a kind of a value system and a consequence system in my house. It was my behaviour, because I realised that my kids could never be secure if yesterday I laughed about this, but today there's a consequence for this. So me and Louise, with the kids, we talked them through. We came up with 5 broad things that are celebrated in our house, and then they're contrasting. What would you call it? Like the converse thing. So, for example, if we champion honesty, we hate lying.
Yeah.
And if you lie, and it may even be just to try and get you or someone else out of trouble, there is these sets of consequences, and it's like a 3-tier thing. First it will be this, then it will be that, then it will be this. So in some cases, if it's a lesser kind of mistake, it might be you lose 15 minutes iPad. That's the ultimate consequence. If you hurt somebody physically, then you will either go to bed early or you will get a smack, depending on the crime. So now, and the kids
Hit
still
for a
say,
hit.
yeah,
Eye for an eye.
hit for a hit, yeah, basically, shamelessly. So the kids now have an ecosystem that they can understand, and we put it into pictures, we put it on the fridge, put it in the bedroom, which means that we will not violate this code of behavior in our house.
Yeah.
We won't smack you because we're mad. We won't smack you because we're angry. We'll smack you if you hurt somebody, or we think. Now, obviously, and finally, so there's 2 things I would say. The first thing is, where do you smack? How hard do you smack? I actually do want to hurt my child when I smack. Not like irreparable. I don't want to hurt, like damage them. I want them to feel the smack. I don't want it just to be like, there's a little tap. Now you know. No, you got to feel some pain on that. The second thing is thinking about what you're going to smack for, and being united as parents on that, and not violate it. And then the third thing is, what is the third thing I was going to say? I forgot what I was going to say, but it was really going to be really helpful and important.
If you violate one of the things that you have written down, so let's say you are the perpetrator of the incident.
Oh, I've just remembered my thing. Can I say it before I forget it? And then you come back. Is I don't think every parent should smack their child, because some children I don't think need smacking. Do you know what I mean? What I'm against is outlawing smacking for every child.
Okay.
So, for example, Ruben may not do best with a smack. Ruben may do best with a threat of losing his social time or whatever. So in my household, Caleb needed the smack, I think. Zeke doesn't need the smack.
Oh,
Like
he's so
all you have to
cute.
do to Zeke is know, and he's like lips like, oh, I've done something wrong and I've upset my parents, and he crushes. So smacking would almost be illogical. It would be like, well, who wins at that point?
Yeah.
Because he's so much more sensitive. Was Caleb, he wouldn't have cared. He would not have cared. Like the smack was certainly the thing. So it's about understanding your child.
Yeah.
So it's not about saying, oh, every parent should smack their kids, but I would say you need to know your children. So those three kind of considerations, I think, have to be worked through.
Yeah.
So let's say Louise violated one of the things.
Yeah.
She hurt you.
Me.
Yeah. So Louise,
Oh, I see.
Louise, you were doing something, and she took, I don't know, a spatula, and she gave you a smack.
Yeah, like sometimes we play
What
tea towel wars. So if I
No,
whip Louise-
not in a game, like
Oh,
out
in
of like
anger.
out of
Okay.
anger or something.
Right.
She hit you.
Yeah.
Would you then meter the same discipline on her that you've got your kid,
Surely
that
you
you would
just laugh.
discipline
No,
onto your kids?
there's no way.
She's feisty.
No, there's no way. There's no way we would.
So it's not for me. It's just a question to kind of go.
Why is it
what's
different?
the difference?
Yeah.
Like if it's to teach the kids,
Yeah.
surely they would have to see.
Yeah,
that
I mean,
being
and
true
that's
across
the
board.
that's the win. And I would say 90% of the time we pass the test.
Yeah.
But we're humans. We're flawed. We're hypocrites.
Yeah.
Right. We tell our kids not to say crap or something,
yeah,
and then in
yeah.
the next breath we go crap.
Yeah.
You know, and it's illogical and it's unreasonable. But our duty as parents is to train our kids. It's to raise them in a godly way. And it's like, yes, I might fall short of it.
Yeah.
But my job to you is a coach. And so I'm going to coach you. So do as I say, not necessarily as I do. Now, most of the time, hopefully, I am modeling it. But I don't go, oh, I've got to lose 15 minutes iPad time today. I just wouldn't do it. And people out there might say, well, it's not fair. Yeah, well, they're kids, and I'm the dad, so boom.
No, I was just.
Dom wouldn't fight Lou back because he knows she'd win.
Yeah.
She's too
She
feisty.
is feisty.
It's when Caleb's all like, "You go wait for me upstairs. I'm going to be up now, Dom." That's what
Yeah,
I'm
go to
really
him.
after.
There's going to be a consequence to this.
I was looking at the article that you posted.
Oh, yeah.
About smacking, and
Yeah.
actually, this really surprised me, and I don't know how you well.
Let's
It
hear
says from today it's illegal too. So physical punishment is smack. Okay, hit is that? Would you say that's same as smacking?
Yeah, I mean, I think it all includes punching,
Okay.
whereas smacking, I think, is just a open
So
hand
this
slap.
says it's illegal to smack, hit, slap, and shake your child. Now
Right.
some of those you're like,
Of
that's just that
Yeah.
makes that's you don't even have to explain that
Yeah.
that is wrong.
Yeah.
But obviously they do have to explain
Yeah.
that is wrong.
Yeah.
And so this is what I mean about like this grey area that
Yeah.
actually, like a smack to you is
Yeah.
you know what you're doing and
Yes.
and it's
Yeah.
reasonable pain or whatever you're trying to. But like the fact that they have to explain
Well,
and put out on paper that.
Do you know what
can't
hacks
shake
me off
your
the most?
child.
Just to get onto another controversial subject. Do you know what
go
hacks me
on.
off the most? Is
No.
that the state will enforce a law like this,
Mm-hmm.
right, to protect a child, yet they will champion a almost full-term abortion.
Well, and
It's like, that's immoral.
yeah.
Like, I can't smack the child I love because you say that they're going to have like lifelong scars and become people who hit people in society. But it's perfectly acceptable to abort a life.
And
Like,
capital punishment.
yeah, exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
I don't want to compare the two. But
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's like, I think that's government overreach. And yes, we don't champion abuse of any
No.
sorts. We don't want kids getting beaten up. We don't want them to get hit by their parents in anger. Of course not. But I think all that will happen is you criminalise quality parents.
So, do you think you could tell, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to name names, please don't. But if you were to look in your friends or in church or whatever and know who was smacked and who wasn't.
I reckon I would be able to have a fair stab at the kids in church.
Okay.
I think I would go, that child is being disciplined well.
Yeah.
And I would applaud that.
So I think that is for me what I'd think is, I don't know if I could say they were being smacked, but I can definitely recognize the kids who have had proper boundaries put in place and proper discipline
Yeah,
put
that's
in place.
what I mean, really.
Whatever that discipline may be, 100%. You can see them over the kids who, let's say, have a looser expression of existence.
And I also want to know, would you smack if it was illegal and why?
You need to answer, Richard. First
Yeah.
of all, you've got to come one side of the fence, please.
So I in my household, we would use smacking as a form of discipline. We have it as the last resort. So we use like a staggered system of discipline, which will include exclusion. So naughty corner, we go sit by the door, like that kind of thing. Removal of time, and for each kid it's different. So I have 3 children, and each one of them there's a different form of punishment that would work. But if those aren't producing the result it needs to produce, the final result will be that they're going to end up getting a hiding. Now I can count on my hand across all 3 of my kids how many times I've ever had to get to that point. Ever. Less than 5 times have we ever gotten to that point, and my oldest is 14. So
Charmaine.
yeah, that was
Charmaine,
Charmaine with fear.
They run a tight house there.
Absolute fear working stuff out. So I wouldn't be against it, but I think when you've got the right meters in place, long before you ever reach that, it's already sorted out. I think the problem for me when it comes to smacking is parents whose first resort is smacking. I don't know where you go to after that.
No.
Like, what's the next phase if that doesn't work?
Take away Ted's house.
Like, yeah, removal of Ted's house. And I think that, like Dom was saying, is the hardest meter in it to build in for us. Well, there's 2. The one has been consistency. So making sure across both me and Charmaine were being really consistent in how we approach the discipline, that we are following the step cycles, that we're on the same page. And then the second one is creating a space where we can tap out or tap the other person out. So that kind of helped us deal with the anger situation. Because sometimes my kids do things and I will go from 0 to 100 like instantly.
Well, and typically in a couple, different things hack you off, don't they?
Yeah.
So different things hack Louise off to me.
Yeah.
So it's quite good that you can tag team.
And then you have to, and it's really weird. We had to actually talk about that to go, I'll step in or you need to step in, rather than it being me having to say, I think you should step in. It's actually Charmaine going, I will just step in and you need to step out.
Yeah.
And that kind of tag team. And I think without those measures in place, I can kind of understand maybe where the law makes sense. Now, I have a lot of questions around the law because I don't actually think what they're doing is what they actually say they're doing. I'm way more skeptical about what's there. When I read that, I'm way more skeptical about what I think is going on with the law itself. But I think when you've got right measure in place, it feels to me like that as a form of discipline, as one of the consequences of where this could end up at if you don't begin to get pulled back into line is really valid. And building for character, for me, I have to look and go, that is part of the role of parents. Is we're not just, it's not just about behavioral modification. This is how I want you to be. It's about going, this is the character that we need to instill in you. And I think that when I look at society in general, and I'm going to make a massive statement now, but it's just my own perception, kids nowadays, because of the lack of boundaries and because of the lack of proper discipline, their character is worse than what it probably was 20 years ago. And they're more out of control, they're more unruly, they're more disrespectful.
They've got rights, and they think they've got right. Well, they have got rights, but it's
Yeah.
true though.
They've
Like,
got rights?
Yeah. What? You're not a human. Human rights.
And for me, like, that's where I really struggle, because I look and I go, we have to build the character into kids. Like, I recognize in my children, like, they're not just inherently good. I have to make sure that I'm instilling that goodness into them.
I get what you're both saying. Can you not just do that without smacking them?
So
yeah, you can.
I think that with effective boundaries put in place, before you even get to smacking, it's already sorted out. But there are times, and obviously less than 5 times, where I've gone, the end point is going to be this. This will be the last step. And once we get to that last step, it will be the last step. And for every one of my children, that has just been the last step. And they've never gone beyond that. But they don't live in fear. They don't cower. They're not scared. Because actually, we just never get there. We never get there.
So what happens then when you get to that, not maybe you guys, but someone gets to that last step and that still doesn't work?
Yeah.
Then what? Where do you go from there? Like, what if your child carried on after you smacked him?
I've never been there yet, so it's hard to speak into because we've never.
Mine laughed at me, so
What's that?
my child
Yeah.
laughed at me when I smacked him. But if you've followed your
Yeah.
Prison.
Yeah. Prison.
what do you do?
Guys
then?
Marsh.
So it's really hard because I do think it's consistency, it's the routine of it, it's the active engagement into those forms of discipline. It's the things that parents struggle with for various reasons, like time. It's been a really long day at work. I'm just having a really terrible day. I've just been woken up. All of those things play into the factor, and I think we get to the end quicker with our kids than we should. And then we're going, I don't know where to go to once we get there. It takes a bit longer to get to the end. Like if you've got a metered stepped process, and your kids feel it, and especially, so I would go with Ruben from what you said, smacking as the last resort. Because that once you hit the stage of going, Ruben, if you carry on after this, this, and this, you're not going to be going to
Is smacking always the last resort?
So in my house, smacking is the last resort.
I think as they get
the discipline.
As they get older, yeah, but when they're young, it has to be the first resort, right? You can't reason with a toddler. You just can't. Like, if they're just smacking is the first resort because you're smacking to consequence, like a hand in fire,
out?
a main
What about
road.
Time out, does that work?
I just don't think it works with under twos personally.
So we've tried to follow the same pattern. And we're not perfect. It's not like we're smashing us out the park every time. But from young, these will be the steps of discipline that we're going to follow through.
So what are your steps of discipline? Obviously, it depends what it is.
As isn't quite like
No,
Richard,
no.
so Richard's got a different approach.
Yeah, so ours isn't. We don't have a behavioral setup like Dom has and gone, these are the consequences if you violate the behavior. What we have is, no matter what the behavioral situation is, this is how it will work. So it will be 3 time outs, which will then lead to the removal of something that we know is fundamentally important to them. Now,
oxygen.
Yeah, oxygen, food. No.
Water.
It will be either. So for my youngest, exclusion is he can't deal with it, and so we'll just exclude him out from whatever's happening within that family environment, and that will produce the behavioral shift that needs to happen. For our middle, it's going to end up being anything that's technology orientated. We just remove his technology time or remove his technology. That will produce the outcome we need. And for my daughter, all I have to do is go, don't do it, and it will produce the outcome that's
She's an angel, isn't she?
that's required. But so for us, there is metered steps that'll be. You're going in for a timeout for this long. You're going to go for a timeout again. You're going for a timeout again. This is going to be the consequence. If this doesn't produce the discipline change we need, then this will be kind of the outcome. And that's how we run any behavioral situation.
Yeah, I think we probably a bit more like that than.
Yeah.
But I like your idea.
Thanks, Nay. I think.
Have a photocopy.
Yeah, of course you can, and we have given the template out before. I mean, it didn't work with everyone. I think every child's different, and I think discerning that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, when you say we don't always get our preferred behaviour, like obviously we don't, and it just is what it is. Like, because the world ain't perfect, life ain't perfect, kids ain't perfect, parenting's not perfect, and I think as we get into the teenage years, it's going to be more like that. But obviously, smacking is like I say, by the time you get to 4, smacking is just embarrassing for everyone involved. It looks ridiculous. Like, it's like smacking a big kid. It's weird. But I do think that I don't know. I think we've spoken about it before on here. The goal of we're not trying to be friends with our kids.
Yeah.
That's really important. And I think the society's moving in that way. Like, kids like me. Do my kids like me? It's like, that has to be irrelevant. You can't be that insecure that you need your kids' affirmation. And I know both me and Richard often say, we're not your friend.
Yeah.
So actually, don't bring that to me. Don't talk. I hate familiarity. I hate that. I hate it when they come.
Yeah.
Like familiar, like on their friend.
Yeah.
Now, of course, we want to create talking points, safety points for talking, and know that they can come to us. But familiarity and attitude and sass and all those sorts of things. And I think that it's also important to labour this point that my kids wouldn't think of me as a smacking parent. No. They would think of me as the fun dad who plays with them all the time. So you have to make sure that that's who you are. Like, this smacking aspect is such a small part of the parenting thing, and it's outweighed by quality time, time investment. And I think so I think it's obviously today we're doing a big spotlight and a big talking point on discipline, but it only works if there's great relationship. It has to be genuine relationship. So like, and the scriptures, like for me, you know, it says the Lord disciplines or rebukes those he loves.
Yeah.
That like rebuke is it's such a form of love, because it's like, I love you enough. Like you say, it's a pain for you to cancel Ted's appointment with Ruben because it gives you a 2-hour window.
Yeah.
So actually, and if that's Ruben's way of learning, and that's more effective than smack, kudos. Yeah. That's awesome. But it's going to affect you. It's going to cost you more. Lazy parents just cut corners, and sometimes the smack can be the cut corner. Do you know what I mean? As much as the
so good.
Yeah.
And this is where I think that the conversation around parental friendship with their kids is really important, because with friends, I tolerate behavior. With my kids, I don't tolerate behavior. And I think that there is a huge amount of parents who tolerate behavior with their children because they have this friendship like idea in their heads that actually I look and I go, yeah, as a kid, like with children, it's like I don't tolerate it. So it is so many things around that. Like, it's inconceivable for my kids to call me by my name. They don't. And if they do, I'm like, what are you doing? Don't. Like, you can call me dad, father, sir. I don't really mind any of these. Alpha, the one in charge, master. I'm comfortable with any of these terms. Like, and
on that point, the other day, right? When I'm doing my kids' hair or whatever before school, I do the same thing pretty much every day. I'm so predictable. I say, right, kneel at my feet so I can do your hair, right? So, anyways, they kneel at my feet because I'm sat in the bed basically, and I'm doing it, and I just don't want to stand up and do it. So they're kneeling at my feet, and I say, "Yes, now call me master," as a joke, right, or whatever. And the other day I was doing Judah's hair, and I says, "Yes, yes, servant," and he says, "Wait, you're the one doing my hair," he said. I was like, "That's so good. That's such a good point." I'm serving him blatantly. I was like, "Fair play."
Oh, it's so good. Like, but I think that's the whole thing. Is the minute you get beyond this friendship idea and free yourself from it, what you're building is the character. You're like, for me and Shemaine, we're always going, we want to build children who grow up to be adults we really want to hang out with.
Yeah, that's the goal.
And I don't want to look at my boys and go, man, you're jerks. I don't want anything to do with you. And I don't want to look at my daughter and go, like, you're just like the kind of girl I wouldn't want to spend time with. I want to look at them and go, I want to act like who you are. It's amazing. And that you're better than me. Like that you're going to thrive and do better and be a better human being than I am, which I don't think would be that hard.
That's an easy objective, isn't it? For them?
Yeah. And that's why Putin is no. So like I think that like for me that's kind of in my always in my thinking.
So sorry, I just kicked my leg. I was turning to look at Naomi, and my I'm wearing sliders. Let me just show the camera.
Why are you wearing red socks though? I mean, you're not on the camera. This is like looking at the most
sliders on, right? And my leg got snagged here, and then it released, and I bashed my shin on the metal leg.
Stand up and then touch without bending your legs. Can you touch your toes?
No, not even close.
That's as far as it goes.
Because I was smacked as a child.
It's like lockdown. Oh.
I feel like I'm about to get smacked now.
It's like lockdown days where you.
I remember one time when I was a kid. Yeah, exactly. It is like lockdown day. No one sees downstairs on here. Like no one sees the trousers I'm wearing. I remember one time when my mom was making Angel Delight in the living room, right? And she says, "Oh, can you get me a wooden spoon, like to stir it?" And I got it, and I just assumed that okay, I must be getting smacked now. So I just gave it to her. She was like, "What are you doing? I want to stir." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool."
You are damaged.
Oh no, I'm not. My parents are great. They were brilliant. I think I literally praise God that I was smacked. I really do.
Really?
And I talked to Caleb about it the other day. I suggested to Richard, maybe we should get him on as a case study on here. And he thought that wasn't a good idea. Because I wanted people to, because I have quite strong views, I wanted them to see the fruit of my views isn't a cowering child in a mess. Like he's a confident socialite.
Until he throws you under the bus.
Until he throws me under the bus, yeah.
So for consistency across my view, I am for corporal punishment at school. I would not bother me if the school had to dole out like punishment. Like
so you would be pro cane? Hey.
Yeah, so I want to be consistent in that.
Yeah.
So I'd be pro-caning in school. Sorry, just somebody walked in. So it was just like, hey, what's going on?
As you're saying, I'm pro-cane.
I'm pro-caning. They're just like, oh, let's just moonwalk right at you.
That was?
It's a cleaner.
Oh, wow.
So pro-caning, like I'd be in school. I'm totally for it. And if I trusted somebody to watch my kid, and I came home and they said, "Oh, your kid was really naughty," it gave them a hiding. It wouldn't bother me at all.
It's really interesting, isn't
Wow.
It would not bother me. But it's because I would be I wanted to kind of be consistent. I'm not forcing myself. It's just for consistency to go. I don't see it as a non-viable means of discipline of a child.
You don't know many teachers then. I don't think.
So as a teacher then, Nay,
yeah.
would you like to have the cane back at school?
No.
No.
No, I don't.
Think about
I don't
those-
hit my
yourself,
own
not for
child,
yourself, not
let
for
alone
yourself.
someone else's.
Not like the headmaster calling you in
Yeah,
for a
no.
caning. Just
No.
no more.
No. You'd probably
no.
disagree with Richard on that one then.
Yeah, I would disagree with Richard. And I guess, obviously, knowing a lot of teachers, I know that some lose their rag a lot quicker than others.
Yeah.
And I guess, like parents, some would jump to it without other sanctions before. And that's an awful situation for a child. Like, I guess you're trusting teachers with your child, and how do you know which teachers are going to abuse that and which ones aren't? And no, I would be and I wouldn't want to do that. There's no way I would do it.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I don't think I'm the same as Richard on that.
Yeah, but
We
As
would
in-
still be friends.
I would let people I know and trust apply discipline to my
Yeah.
kids. Like
Your
my
mum.
mum and dad, close friends, Louise's parents.
stranger down the street that was just walking by.
Yeah, if it's
Anyone, really.
If my kid's been a turd, he's been a
Would
turd.
you like me, like your friends? How would you feel if
Yeah, close friends. Yeah, I would.
I
Yeah,
was with them and
I think. Yeah, I would. And it's not that I want to do it to other people's kids at all. Yeah, it's just a laugh at you. Your kind of slap is crazy. But it's funny when I was at junior school. There was this occasion we had this. I think it was a maths teacher, Mr. Prenter. I don't know if that's appropriate to share or not. But he lost his rag with me in one class because I was taking the mick out of him playing guitar like he does, right? And anyway, he was having a bad day. And looking back now, I know looking back that he was having marriage difficulties and he was on the bottle. And anyways, he lost his rag so much. I was in year 5. He grabbed me and he pushed me up against coat pegs, right? I remember this, and the head teacher, right, saw it, okay, and she was like, I assumed I was guilty. I assumed I was naughty. So when the headmistress called me to her office, I thought, I'm in trouble here. She was like, are you okay? Are you totally, like, literally, as you would expect to obviously understand now. Anyway, she called my mom, and I'm thinking, I'm in trouble. She's going to call my mom. So my mom comes in, and I'm
you
sat.
lived in fear, Dom.
What's that?
You just lived in
Well,
fear.
I thought
You're in trouble all the time.
what was so funny? Different era, but I remember the conversation. I can't remember the head teacher's name now, but she was explaining what happened to my mom, like saying, no.
Mum will go get the spoon.
Well, also like this kind of like sense of, we're really sorry. This shouldn't have happened. And my mom said, "What did you do?" I remember that. What on earth did you do? Incidentally, we never saw Mr. Prenter again.
Oh.
Whoa.
Yeah, but I didn't mind at all, to be honest. I don't have any. I thought, looking back now, it's a funny story because it was like I wasn't really hurt,
I've never ever.
and I was a little brat. So
Some kids, like, really do push me to my limit, but I've never wanted to hurt them.
no, of course, that's a good. I think that's it makes you a nice person.
Mr. Whatever his name, he clearly had some.
I feel sorry for him.
Yeah,
I
he was
literally
having a
do.
hard time
Yeah,
to get to that point.
and I don't think I'd want teachers to have that. It's funny that you would.
Yeah.
You wouldn't mind a teacher, someone you don't know, caning your
Nah,
child.
not at all. If they've been
crazy.
naughty, they've been naughty. That's what it is.
I want to know at home, like, you've got to get in on this. Like, what are your thoughts on it? Like, what are your thoughts on what Richard just said?
Wait, how are you honing everything into what I just said? As if out of the whole conversation, that thing is the worst thing said.
Well, yeah, I mean, granted, I've said some
50
things as well,
times.
incriminating things here.
50 times.
50 times.
No, what I want to know, what are we at time? We've got to be nearly finished, haven't we?
Yeah, we got about 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Nay,
Yes.
okay. On the back of our conversation today,
Yes.
would you think differently on anything or do anything differently?
No,
Okay.
I
you
don't think
agree?
I would.
Yeah.
I think I understand both of your points of view, and I can see that it's worked for you guys. Smacking, and I think, but for me, I just still think, what's the point if you can discipline a child in
Yeah.
all other ways?
Yeah.
What is the point of resorting to the very, very last resort? Why does it have to be a smack?
Yeah.
I kind of still think no, and I think for the benefit of children that this law can protect, then I think it's worth it.
So you think what we lose will be outweighed by what we gain with the
I
law?
do, because I think there's no grey area. There's no.
It's good.
I'm allowed to shake my child.
That's nonsense.
I was allowed, and now no, you can't smack, you can't hit, you can't shake, you can't do anything. And I do think that good parents. People are going to abuse kids whether there's a law in place or not.
Yeah.
Good parents are going to be good parents whether they're allowed to smack or not. I think you guys would have, you still would have raised amazing children without having a smack.
That was kind of the common view in opposition to what I was saying on the poll. It was there are way more effective ways of applying discipline. And I think what you were saying, Richard, is really true. Is that when you look at kids at school or at church or whatever, it is better to say which ones have been raised in a context of discipline. And it's really funny because one of the comments that came into it, I was like, how do you, and it is such a cliche verse to throw at, spare the rod, ruin the child. It's used all the time to justify smacking. But I think it's an interesting one to raise because is that a timeless principle? Was it specific for just then and no longer applicable? And so, I asked the question back to the person I was talking to saying, like, what is your application of that? Do you think now that that's irrelevant, that it's no longer necessary? And their kind of response, and I thought it was really interesting and helpful, and it made me think differently on it, was that it's more of a metaphor that sparing the rod speaks to discipline, but not necessarily the rod. That is almost like if you don't apply discipline, then your child's gonna grow up rebellious and chaotic and all this kind of stuff. So it's not a literal application of the text, because otherwise we should be using rods. If we're going to apply it to the nth degree. And so actually, because I've been thinking a lot about this week, and I've had some great conversations. There are some things I'm going to do differently, honestly. I'm not just saying that to sound like I've really been changed by it.
You're going to hit harder. Is that?
They're past slapping age now, aren't they?
What's that?
Smacking.
Yeah, but I don't think in the context of slapping. Like I actually think I want to have a conversation with them about the smacking we have done historically. I guess I just want to drive home that, I don't think we ever abused it, but I think for me, it's definitely what I want to do is not just to assume that they understood why, because I think obviously now they're coming into a society where their friends aren't being smacked. And I guess I've just said, this is my way or the highway. And I think that's probably not a strong arm to play.
So I think that's where parenting partner, like you and your spouse. So like for me and Tremaine, I'm definitely like, why can't I do that? Because I've said that. I'm not going to give you a reason. That's just where it's at. If you don't like it, don't really care. Where Charmaine is way more reasoned in explaining the thinking behind it. And I think that I definitely think my kids would be worse off without that. If they only had me, they would look and go, I got the behavior, but I got no idea why. I've got it. But I think if they only had Charmaine, they would go, I've been lectured into the ground, but I'm still probably going to carry on doing some of the behavior anyway because it's already boring. But hitting both of them together gives them the frame of, this is the reasoning behind it. This is the thinking. This is what's problematic with your behavior. Do you understand it? And on my side, it's like, even if you don't really like it, get on board.
Well, it's Mother's Day now.
Yes.
Happy.
Happy. We're talking about raising kids today. And I think everyone listening, don't just think about the smack conversation exclusive. Think about the investment that's required to raise quality kids. And actually, the Bible talks about them being a heritage. It says like they're like a heritage, which basically means they're your future. They're the thing you leave. They're your legacy. And so don't take shortcuts. And don't violate your conscience. Your kid may not need a smack. There are other ways. But the thing that's important is employ boundaries and discipline in order to ensure that your kid feels secure, safe, and loved. And that's really that's the goal, is that your kid feels loved, so they don't look for it in wrong places. Now, have you got any closing kind of sentiments or statements for people? No.
That's gone really well then.
That's amazing.
Questions, comments, we'd love to hear some of your thinking around us. Email
no.
Fire Mountain. Firemountain@sunnyhill.church. This has been another episode of Fire Mountain where I've managed to avoid the question, what would you do if that law came into play?
What would you do?
It's too late. We're out of time, so... Well, what can we do? So,
thanks for coming on, Nate. We love you. We appreciate you. You're amazing. So much, You're a great mom.
Amazing.
Ruben's amazing. He's such a good lad.
Yeah.
Look forward to him playing drums at church one day.
Sunday.
We need to get
Sunday,
you back
let's go.
sometime when we begin to talk about ethics.
We need to get into
and
ethics.
throwing some ethical
Yes.
questions out, and you can bring some real wisdom and not just have the ignorance that is me and Dom.
Yay!
I don't know if I can bring wisdom, but I could maybe get you an A at A level.
Yeah, I'd be down with
Okay,
that. In RS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Richard would fail at RS, I
Would he?
think.
What do you mean? You think you could get an A at RS?
I definitely.
You could not.
Ask me a hard RS
So
question.
an A level question.
Yeah, go
Yeah.
on, let's hear it.
I'll ask you an ethics question.
All right.
No, I'll ask you a Christianity question.
Oh,
So there's
ask
three
Richard the
parts.
Christianity.
No,
one.
ask Dom. He's the one who can't get an A.
There's 3 parts to the course. There's philosophy.
Yeah.
There's
I love
ethics,
philosophy.
Yeah.
And there's Christianity.
Can I have philosophy?
Take
No.
philosophy for 20.
No, you can have Christianity.
Okay.
So explain the. Let's think. This wouldn't be a question, but it'd be along the lines of this. So, the filioque controversy for the Trinity, or like the atonement, or
The filio controversy. You're going to have to help me understand
they?
what the filio
So-
controversy is.
So
Trinity. 1
Okay.
plus 1 plus 1 equals 1. Boom.
That's mine.
no.
That's mine,
Yeah.
you
I'm
pig.
done, dude.
That's
I've
mine.
answered
Let me do an ethics.
I've got
Let me
my
do
A.
ethics.
You find your own A.
So ethics would be, for example, so agape. So situation
Yeah,
ethics
yeah.
is all about agape. So it promotes immoral behaviour.
What?
That's an easy
Was there a
one.
question there?
Okay, so
agape.
Evaluate. Does it?
As in divine love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does agape? Does situation ethics?
yeah.
Promote immoral behaviour?
Does agape
Yeah.
promote? I'm so pleased I never have to go back to school. I can't even
That's an
decode.
easy one.
I can't even decode that.
So
Okay,
are you
what
saying
about-
because God is all good, basically, he by default has also had to then necessitate the need for evil?
So what I'm saying is, if we are to, so with ethics, we look at different ethical theories, and one is a theory called situation ethics, and it's about this guy called Joseph Fletcher, who in the 60s was like, all you need is love, and
I
kind
thought
of-
that was Paul McCartney.
no, yeah, and
No.
no.
Just no.
So
You're wrong.
He basically said that through love, through agape love, you will, any action that is done in love will produce justice, will produce more love, and that's can only be a good thing.
Okay.
Okay.
And so then we look at like ethical, ethical like dilemmas, I suppose, so like polyamory, for example.
We need another episode,
Yeah.
I think, because this sounds awesome.
Yeah.
We should have talked about this.
So we do ethics like natural law, utilitarian, greater good for
Yeah.
greater number.
Yeah.
That one
Greater good's a nonsense, though, isn't it?
is it?
Because it just justifies too much bad decision making in
Does
the
it?
present.
Depends. Act and rule utilitarianism.
Well,
different types. Of
Greater good is
utilitarian.
always used by in American politics all the time. With the coronavirus, greater good was
Yeah.
always used to
Is
push
it
out.
Not, is it
agenda.
not
I don't think it's good
good? No.
because I think that no one actually knows the greater good. It's just a manipulative way to
Yeah.
get what you want now.
Just that statement on its own,
Yeah.
then yeah, I agree. But
Yeah.
then when you look at the theory of utilitarianism, there's much more to it than that. But
We need to get into this.
So like how?
So,
yeah.
On that bombshell,
Anyway, yeah.
we should have you back. Will you come back?
Yeah. Of course I
Yeah,
will.
Great.
next month or so. We should definitely. I
If
want to
I
get
give
into
you-
ethics.
If
There's-
I give you like either Christianity,
Yeah.
ethics, or philosophy.
I love philosophy.
So
Yeah.
like, how do you know how do you know what is real or something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Or
Or truth.
Trinity.
Or truth, surely. In
Yes,
philosophy, because that's so blurry, isn't
I'm
it?
about to teach Trinity, so I'd really
Okay,
appreciate the
let's do that.
conversation.
so on that bombshell,
Spirit in regards to
Submitting to the
the Father and the Son, like how does